My God, Dan, every time I close my eyes, I see us running into an 8-man box. I can't unsee it. Oh, hold on, Georgie just let in another goal. Dan, everything's falling apart in Denver. Play that funky music. All good things must come to an end, Ryan, and the Broncos' 3-game win streak abruptly came to an end on Sunday. They got some points to make it look a little more respectable, but 23-16, they went down to the Chargers, Ryan. What was your big first takeaway here from this game for the Broncos? I think a lot of Broncos Nation was panicking about the offense. What was kind of your takeaway?
That panic is warranted, I think, at this point. I don't think that Brock didn't do anything to, or Bo didn't do anything to calm down the concerns coming out of that Jets game. You know, we were talking about the weather as sort of like a built-in excuse there a little bit, but it was sputtering and it was bad. And there were opportunities. We were watching the game together, and I looked at you in the first quarter and was like, "This feels like it should be a game. Like there are definitely places out there." And I would love to blame Sean Payton, but I mean, there were openings. It's not like we didn't have opportunities. So it was a tough game for our offense out there.
Yes. Speaking of wanting to blame Sean Payton, say less, Ryan. I will blame Sean Payton. Okay. I think we should talk about this as there's two personas. There's Sean Payton, who coached the Saints to a Super Bowl, who sometimes shows up for the Broncos with some pretty good offensive game plans. And then there's Kevin James. And Kevin James coached this game, I'll tell you that. All right. Kevin was out there pounding the rock. All right. Now, did the Chargers have 3 of their top corners injured in this game? Why, you betcha they did, Ryan. That's why when the Broncos opened it up, it looked not that difficult out there. Now, were there a little different style defense? Of course. But Ryan, first drive, run, interception. Tough interception there, not fully on Bo there, off a deflection, not terrible. Then we get a 6-yard pass on first down. Run. Like it was like we were living in the 80s, and we were just running into the strength of this Chargers team. The cornerback room is just unbelievably effed up. Like, I get that there is a different style of defense that they're playing, but I'm saying throw underneath, get him some easy ones, get him in a rhythm, get him going out there rather than being like, hey, man, we have Khalil Mack and our backup tackle out there, and it's going to be 6 yards or more every time. Like, what are we doing out here? So that was Kevin James out there calling plays for the Broncos, and I couldn't be more disappointed in him because I thought that he didn't give this team a chance to win. Because like you said, this was a winnable game. It's not like the Chargers were playing so unbelievably well.
No, I get your frustration, but at the same time, it's also how much of this is really he's seeing behind the curtain of what Bo is capable of and saying like, no, we're good. Actually, we're just going to run the ball and hope that works. Like, I don't know how much he's trying to protect Bo. It could not even be a bad thing, right? He could just be like, I don't want to put him in a bad position, all those type of things. But at a certain point, you just got to figure it out. And trial by fire is not necessarily a bad thing. So,
no, I mean, where was the play action? Where was the stuff we saw him in the second half get outside the pocket, use his legs? You're over 8.5 rushing.
Yeah.
Dan and I were celebrating it in the third quarter, and then he had like 5 more rushes that were like 15 yards. He was our leading rusher in the game. Like, it's just very clear that it was not going to work to run there. We have injuries to our offensive line So let's get quick passes out there. And I agree with you that maybe there's something behind the curtain, but all we heard was that we had the goodwill hunting of quarterbacks out here and that quick decision making was the reason he was that. So let's just get some quick, easy reads out there against the third string cornerbacks of the Chargers. And you know what? If that's not good enough, then how do you like them apples? That's fine. All right. But what are we doing? Just doing this dumb play calling. You talk about setting a quarterback up for success. I don't think having Khalil Mack out there versus our second string or Garrett Bowles, which, is a second stringer anywhere else in the NFL, one on one with 3rd and 7 or longer is setting him up for success either. Like he was under duress back there because we were putting him in these terrible situations where we could just have, like I said, that second drive, it starts off easy dump off to estimate, like so easy. And those 5-6 yards are there. You just have to be disciplined and just keep picking them up. And I think giving Bo 3 chances to go 2 out of 3 was much better than whatever Javonte and Estime were doing for 1 yard or -2.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line injuries are a great point there because, I mean, you can't, to your point, like have a really long developing pass play either. But when you're doing a quick slam on a play action play, like that doesn't take long. So I don't know. It's an infuriating team to watch.
And it's not like we have the Hobbit Russell back there either. We can throw slants. Like we don't have Frodo Baggins back there in the backfield anymore. So like Bo is an actual adult male back there, and so you can throw across the middle quickly and not worry about it getting knocked down.
Yeah. He said it when he said it.
I just don't understand it, Ryan. Like I feel like so much of game planning in the NFL as the season goes on is not just like looking at tendencies, but looking at depth charts and going, all right, we're going to have some guys banged up. What's going to be hard for us to do that maybe normally we'd be good at? Like, I think having our center out, we're on our 3rd string tackle. I predict some of those outside runs to the edge are not going to go very good. Maybe some of those screens aren't going to go as well because our center is pooping his pants that he's going to get the snap out right. Let's make things easy.
The screens were brutal. There were so many of them, and they were just all negative plays, it felt like. So,
Javonte dropped one that was insanely promising, and it hit him in a bad spot, namely his hands. Javonte Williams had a very bad game. We were talking about, kind of the progress we thought he'd made with some of those big-time runs against the Raiders, looking a little more physical. He looked whatever the opposite is of confident. Like he looked like a kid who, like in the movies, when the bully comes up behind a kid at the desk and slaps him on the back of the head, and the kid just kind of puts his head down and takes it. That's what Javonte Williams looked like the whole game. Like he just got slapped in the back of the head by Derwin James and Khalil Mack, and he was like, those guys, they're always joking like that. It was ridiculous. Switching sides of the ball here quickly, and then we want to get into the Saints preview as well. Disappointing defensive performance. I thought it was disappointing to hear. I wanted to get your take on the Riley Moss quote where he was like, I think we were just shell-shocked when Surtain went out, and it took us until the second half to be like, hey, let's still just play football. Like, because they were making that Chargers offense look quite a bit better than it is. And once again, it was weird to me that we were scared to bring guys down into the box when we were getting smoked running the ball, because it's like you have McConkey, who was clearly injured in that game, and then you have Palmer. Like it's not like they had burners on the outside. People talk about our lack of wide receiver depth.
The difference
they don't have killers either.
The difference is they have Herbert throwing him the ball. Like he had some dimes just hit guys perfectly,
Yeah.
and like you or I could probably catch it. Like you catch it almost in self defense. So I, it's a different problem that they have, but you're right. I mean, it was a very lackadaisical defensive performance in the first half, and they did nothing to stop. Like it was, they were sieves. Like there was just anything and everything was working, and it's not promising going forward when Sertain probably, I mean, he's definitely not going to play Thursday, and we'll see. So it's, if one guy goes down, the deck of cards or the house of cards starts falling apart a little bit. Um, and that's what a lack of depth does, right? Like we knew that this team did not have just this enormous wealth of talent down the depth chart. Like we knew that if anything like this happened for any significant amount of time, they were even more screwed than we thought they were. And they've performed what we thought they were going to, but this does not bode well. So
No, I it felt bad to me that there wasn't, and it did sound like maybe there was kind of a pride thing in the locker room at halftime for the defense, but like, why does it take that long? I guess for like guys, for Vance to rally the guys, for them to rally the guys. Like the Lions watched their best defensive player have one of the most disgusting leg injuries ever, and they were like, "That's our guy. We got to play for him. We got to go out there and get it done." The Broncos were like, "Our best player got a head owie. Oh no, better let him run for 10 yards every time." Like, what are we doing here? Like, let Zach Allen, let's get some people, let's huddle up, say, hey guys, this is BS. We're getting smoked at the line of scrimmage and they're running for 6 yards every time. Let's sit back here and get them in some third and longs and make them make plays. Which, to your point, Herbert did have some dirty throws on some 3rd and 8s that they did get that you were just like, yep, that's why they paid him all that money.
he's
That sounds
filthy.
correct.
He's filthy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty good out there. But I guess last thing on this game, this has been a big point of debate. How valid do you see the Bo Nix stats / touchdown drives? Um, as far as there's like some, it feels like you have to be in one of two camps in Broncos media country or Broncos country in general. Like either people are totally dismissing them and being like they shouldn't even count, and then there's some people who are like, it's a sign that Sean Payton was the whole problem and Bo Nix could have been putting up 500 yards. And I come down somewhere in the middle there of like, listen, they were playing a different defense, absolutely. And also, when Bo Nix shook off a defensive end over his head and then took off, and on that 4th and 5, when he just beat that guy to the edge, I thought those were awesome plays. I thought some of his stuff, that touch play he had to Vele over the middle there, where he just was like scrambling up and then floated it perfectly to him, hit him in stride. I thought there were some, I think, I don't care what time of the game that is, that's an encouraging play and that's a dirty play. And I think that as Broncos fans, we talked about it before the season, Ryan. You were like, hey, man, it's not going to be good. It's all the time. It's you've got to find these moments and be like, hey, that's a moment for someone who could be a player, right? That's a moment for Vele. He had 78 yards. That's a moment, right? These Bo Nix runs, these Bo Nix, like, hey, I'm getting a first down. Hey, I'm getting us in this thing, right? They're moments, right? And I think there were some moments there, but to totally dismiss the context that the Chargers were up 20 points when we started scoring is a bit silly as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are promising parts to Bo, and there to me aren't that many promising parts to the offense writ large, outside of Bo Nix. Like, and I'm not super high on him either. So it's not like he's got this wealth of talent that's surrounding him, and I think he's done decent considering that. And I think everybody should be happy with that.
Yeah. Um, Yeah. Speaking of that, it does feel like it's uh, a little bit wild that Vele is our leading wide receiver. Like, you can't tell me Sutton. It feels like Sutton is like only running deep crossers when like he's a huge body. And like, why don't we just have quick slants? Why don't we have quick comebacks? Why don't we have these things for him to get our best player the ball?
I don't know.
Also, it didn't matter. We weren't going to win that game. But can we talk about the 2-point conversion? And why on earth, when Bo Nix is carving these people, are we like, you know what? Let's take it out of his hands. Like, why wouldn't you at least call a rollout play where he can use his legs if he wants to? He can, make quick decisions. Like, honestly, in the red zone, like, he's almost a little bit better for stuff like that sometimes, like, because it is so much quick decision making, right? Um, I know he's had some picks down there, but I feel like it, like 2 yard line in, like he's able to be like, it's there, it's not,
Yeah,
and be pretty
first
decisive.
read. And
I didn't understand why we were like, hey, it's been the worst part of our team running the ball. Let's do it.
no, it's trusting the wrong people, right? It's just doing. It's you don't necessarily trust Bo Nix to pull some rabbit out of his hat either, but you can also you have a higher probability of something good happening if you just have the ball in Bo Nix's hands there. So
It also feels like NFL coaches just they could steal from NBA coaches, right? Like that's like if Murray has hit 4 straight shots, we're gonna go set a screen for Murray and we're gonna let him shoot again. Like, but it feels like we just have 2-point conversion plays, and then these coaches are just like, gotta call it. This is our first one. Like, no game flow, no anything. Like, I don't know. These 2-point conversion plays, so many of them are so stupid. And then you had to watch on the other TV. We had the Lions just running the most creative, fun offense in the world, and we're just over here plowing away at 2 yard runs. It was a bit sad, to say the least. All right, looking ahead, we have the Saints. Short week. The Saints got smoked out. It was a close game for about a half, and then all of a sudden, the Bucks continued to score, and they did not. They're going to have Rattler at quarterback. He had some promising moments, and we have probably a certainless defense going in there. And also, that Saints defense is pretty good. And you talk about corners, they have good corners with Lattimore. They have Tyrann Mathieu back there. Like, they can be pretty good. You still have Cam Jordan on the outside. We're not going to get our tackles back. I don't think McGlinchey is going to be ready for this game either. So center's on IR, so we'll still be the same center. It's a little dicey here, shall we say. The Saints are favored by
no,
3.
no, no.
What is it?
The Broncos are -2
-2.
on the road. Explain that to me. How is this not the fishiest line that you've ever seen?
I think
Broncos are
maybe.
-125 on the money line. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, on a Thursday night to be favored on the road in New Orleans, with the rookie quarterback, I don't. It feels very tough to me.
Yeah. It also just like, it doesn't seem like there's like, I'm scared of Kamara just running right at us, right? And Rattler not having to make a lot of tough decisions here. They obviously have talent on the outside too, with Olave. Like,
Well,
yeah,
Olave's out. Olave had a concussion.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
going to be Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah,
And Jawan Johnson. Like, they don't have. Shaheed's supposed to, or he's listed on props at least, Dan. So, but he was banged up in that last game too.
yeah.
It's yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. The over under is 37, so they don't think that this is going to be an offensive explosion. So yeah, I think that this is a Broncos loss. Personally, I just don't trust this offense to be able to score. And without Surtain, the defense, uh, it's
The only thing I can think here is there a bigger coaching mismatch, assuming that it's Sean Payton and not Kevin James that shows up, than Sean Payton versus Dennis Allen? Like, Dennis Allen is atrocious.
it's kind of a revenge game on both sides too. Obviously, Peyton wants to beat his old team, but they probably want to beat the old coach. So it's I don't know. It's a tough one to handicap. I was shocked to see that we were favored.
And I swear that it was Saints favored to start with.
It might be.
And maybe I just misread the line because I was like, oh, it's 2 going to 3. Which is why you heard that hesitation. I mean, that's wild to me to think that the Broncos are 4 points better than anyone in the league, not the Patriots or the Raiders. Like, those teams are dumpster fires. But to me, this comes down to you need to be aggressive. You need to come out here and play to try to get a lead here, because if you're down in that dome on Thursday night and those guys are getting to tee off on Bo, that is going to be a long night. So yeah, I think I agree with you. It's very fishy. I think I'm gonna for our official predictions here. I think I'm gonna go Broncos 17, Saints 13. I think the Broncos can get it done here. I think Sean Payton shows up here. I don't think we get Kevin James as
That's
our coach here. I think we can get. I think this Saints team, while they have physical corners, they have good guys. You can absolutely, like, the Bucks. They just Baker Mayfielded them, right? Like, it wasn't like huge explosive plays. It was they just kept getting completions, kept getting yardage, all that stuff. And obviously there was some turnovers. There was some stuff at the end of the game that got it to 51. It was not 51 most of the time.
yeah.
But I
I
think
think
Bo's got to avoid mistakes, and I think we can win this game.
I think that score is right. I'm just going to go in the opposite direction. Uh, you're right though that it opened at Broncos minus 1.5, and it's been or Broncos plus 3.5. Sorry, no. What?
There's no way it's been 5 points of movement.
No, I'm reading this wrong. Okay, so it was Broncos plus 1 on the 13th.
That's even still pretty wild movement.
So that was yesterday, and now it's minus 1.5. So
That's interesting. So that must be some early sharp money,
yeah,
which makes me feel a little bit better on my side.
yeah.
But I mean, this last week was the most public week
I was
I've
gonna
ever
say,
seen. So
yeah.
it's pretty great. I do think this is also the second game for Rattler. Like, Rattler didn't look great. He didn't look terrible, but like,
There's
this is the
tape
second
on
time seeing him.
him. There's
Yeah,
tape on him. Yeah, it's
yeah.
yeah.
This doesn't usually bode well in this scenario. I think if you're the Broncos, I'd tell Vance Joseph to be Vance Joseph. I'd be like, what do you love to do most in the world, Vance? And he'd be like, talk about good practices on Wednesday. I'd be like, all right, second favorite thing. He'd be like, blitzing. I'd be like, great, do that. Also, you can say we had a great practice on Wednesday if you want to. That's fine. As long as you bring guys up to the line of scrimmage here and we do not let Alvin Kamara absolutely smoke us.
That's the worry, is he could have 250 yards from scrimmage.
Yeah. I mean, like, Herbert absolutely extended a few of those drives, but like for the most part, the degree of difficulty was not high. Like they were just running for 5 yards a play in the first half.
Yeah.
Like you can find a lot of NFL quarterbacks that can be fairly successful if you run for 5 yards per play.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I just don't trust it to happen. I think everything you're saying is right.
Yeah.
I don't believe it'll actually play out that way on Thursday.
Yeah, I think too, as much as Sean Payton says he doesn't anticipate it being like a celebratory thing, I think these Saints fans don't really like this team that much. So I think it is going to be kind of a celebratory thing, where it's not going to be as wild of a fan base as you might normally get in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So
they haven't opened up the longest rush prop for Bo yet, but whenever that opens up, just bag it. I think that's a mortgage bet this week. I mean, it's been hitting, and I think he's going to be in positions where we need him to be moving.
And we were talking about it while all three of us watched this Chargers game, but Bo was feeling himself a little bit there after some of those runs where he was like getting a little happy feet, where he was like, whatever, dude, the rest of these guys suck. I'm just going to go run for 10 yards. And you're like, all right, dude, but we can't run a QB draw basically every play. They will catch on to that here in the NFL, Bo. So there were a few happy feet out there, but you know, what can you do? Yeah. All right. So I think that's everything. Anything else you wanted to throw out there, Ryan?
No, I think that's it.
Perfect. You gave out one here for this game. I'll give out one for this game as well. I like the under in this game. I think you've got short weeks. I think you've got teams that are not very explosive, and quarterbacks who were pretty safe with the ball. Like Rattler was pretty safe with it. And I think it's telling that this is so low, even though the Saints gave up 51 points last week.
Yeah.
They still do not think that we can score. And they're not wrong.
No.
So I will take that under 37. And Ryan, over whatever Bo Nix's is. We hope we get it to 8.5, but it might be up at 10.5 again. Bo might have rushed himself into a 10.5-er, which is fine.
I think it's a bet until like 12.5, honestly.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Especially with the offensive line hurt.
Yeah. And then we're going to be back on Friday. We're going to give out some best bets for the NBA season. We'll do our big blowout NBA season preview. We'll talk about the Nuggets. We're going to figure out who's going to win the championship. So we're just going to give you some bets that you can cash in just some months' time. Think of it like a 401k basically.
Yeah.
But with the NBA. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It will fully mature in July. Yeah. Some of them earlier if they're division bets. We don't know. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Two-parter this week. So keep your heads up, Broncos fans. I think we're going to get back in the win column. 4-2. That's not too bad. And then we get a little mini bye after this. So you got to get this win here if you are going to try to sneak into the playoffs and get obliterated by whoever the second seed is in the AFC. All right. Anything else, Ryan?
No, I'm looking forward to getting obliterated.
Goodness gracious. All right. Thanks to our super producer, Dan. Subscribe. We'll talk to you on Friday.
Bye.
Blucifer Brothers is a Crab Shell Media podcast.